Today we're going to discuss about performance of joint promises, then what are the rules regarding performance of joint promises, then what is the term reciprocal promises, then rules regarding the performance of reciprocal promises, and the last topic, assignment of contract. Joint promises. When two or more persons enter into a joint contract with one or more persons, the promises under such a contract are known as joint promises. So, joint promise is a term where two or more persons are entering into a contract with the one or more persons. So, the promises made there is called joint promises. Again, I am repeating, when two or more persons enter into a contract with one or more persons, the promises made there is called joint promises. The next term is rules regarding performance of joint promises. The very first one is devolution of joint liabilities, or otherwise we can say transfer of joint liabilities. According to section 42 of the Contract Act, when two or more persons have made a joint promise, all of them must jointly fulfill the promise. According to section 42 of our Contract Act, when two or more persons have made a joint promise, then it is their responsibility to fulfill the promise. In case, upon the death of one of the joint promisers, his legal representatives will be jointly liable along with the surviving promiser or promises. I think the idea is clear. When joint promises are made, then it is the responsibility of the promisers to fulfill the promise on time. In case of death of one of the promisers, then his legal representatives will be liable. For example, A, B, and C jointly made a promise to pay rupees 15,000 to D. Here, during their joint lives, A, B, and C must jointly pay the amount. So that is the rule. In case C dies before the payment is made, then his legal representatives, that means legal representative of C, jointly with A and B will have to perform the promise to pay the amount. That's called a devolution of joint liabilities. The second rule, any one of the joint promises may be compelled to perform. Each promiser may compel every other joint promiser to contribute equally to the discharge of the promise, unless otherwise provided. In case any one of the joint promises make a default in such contribution, the remaining joint promises should equally bear the loss arising from such default. So second rule says that if when two or more persons make a joint promise and the promisee may, in the absence of express agreement to the contrary, compel anyone or more of such joint promises to perform the whole promise. So each promiser have to compel the other promises to contribute equally for discharging or for fulfilling the promise. In case any one of the any one of the promiser makes a default, if he is not fulfilling his part, he is not contributing, then the remaining promisers should equally bear the loss arising from such a default. For example, A, B, and C jointly promised to D with the sum of rupees 15,000. Here C is compelled to pay the whole. C is entitled to receive 5,000 each from A and B unless a contrary intention appears from the contract among them. The third rule is release of joint promiser and its effect. When one or more persons have made a joint promise, a release of one such joint promiser by the promisee not discharge the other joint promises. Neither does it free the joint promises or release from the responsibility to other joint promiser or joint promises. Simply, if any of the partner is any of the promisers released from the promise, the released promiser cannot be made free from his responsibility towards the other joint promises. It says that the released promiser have to fulfill the his part or his part of obligation. Let me explain through an example. A, B, and C are joint promises of a debt payable to D. Here, D released C from his liability and sued A and B for recovery of the debt. So A and B, A, B, C, they have to give debt to D. They have to give money to D. Here, D is releasing C from his liability and suing against A and B. Here, neither A and B can escape from the liability to the debtor, nor C is discharged from the liability to contribute A and B. Even though he is a released promiser, he cannot be made free from his responsibility towards the other promisers. And the fourth one is devolution of joint rights. So when a person has made a promise to two or more persons jointly, the right to demand the performance of the promise rests with the joint promisees during their joint lives unless otherwise provided. In case any one of them dies, the legal representatives have the right to claim the performance. It says that devolution of joint rights says that when joint promises are made, then the joint promisees have the right to demand the performance of the promise. In case any one of the joint promises dies, then their legal representative have the right to claim the performance. For example, A is a person who has received 30,000 from B and C. A received 30,000 from B and C. Promises them to repay the sum with interest on a day specified. B dies. Then the right to claim the performance rests with the B's representatives jointly with C during C's life. And after the death of C's life, after the death of C, his legal representatives can claim. So joint rights, under a joint promise, the right to claim for the performance of the promise rests with the joint promisee. In case of death, his legal representative have the right to claim the performance. Reciprocal promises. A contract consists of reciprocal promises when one party makes a promise in consideration of a similar promise made by the other party. That's called a reciprocal promise. Reciprocal promise means it is a contract of exchange of promises. Where one party says that one party is making a promise to do or not to do something in future. So in consideration of that promise, the other party is also making a promise to do or not to do something in future. That's called a reciprocal promises. Here, promises which form the consideration or part of consideration for each other. That's called reciprocal promises. Reciprocal promises are simply mutual promises. One party makes a promise in consideration of a similar promise made by the other party. Different types of reciprocal promises. There are mainly three types of reciprocal promises, and the first one, mutual and independent. When the promises are to be performed by each party independently without waiting for the other party to perform his promise are called mutual and independent. Here, each party is making their promise independently. They are not waiting for the other party to perform. That type of promises, reciprocal promises, are called mutual and independent. Example: A promises B to pay rupees 50,000 on Sunday and B promises to deliver scooter the next Sunday. Here the promises are mutual and independent. That means both of them must perform promise without waiting for performance or willingness to perform the other party. Mutual and independent means each party have to perform their promise independently without waiting for the other party to perform. Then mutual and dependent. It is quite opposite of mutual and independent. When the performance of one party depends on the prior performance of other party, that promise is called mutual and independent. When one party is waiting for the other party to perform, that's called mutual and dependent. For example, A is a building contractor. He agrees to build a house for B at a fixed price. A must build a house before B pays for it. In other words, A's promise to build the house must be performed before B's promise to pay for it. That's called mutual and independent. The performance of one party, it depends on the prior performance of the other party. And the last one, mutual and concurrent, where the promises are to be performed simultaneously. The promises are called mutual and concurrent. When the promises are to be performed at the same time, that's called a mutual and concurrent. For example, A agrees with B to sell a motor car for cash. Here both A and B are required to perform their promises. These are the three different types of reciprocal promises. Then what are the rules regarding performance of reciprocal promises? The very first one, regarding simultaneous performance. It says that when a contract consists of reciprocal promises to be simultaneously performed, that means at the same time, then the promiser need to perform his promise unless the promisee is ready and willing to perform his reciprocal promise. That means in such a case, both the parties are to perform their promise simultaneously. Regarding order of performance, where the order in which reciprocal promises are to be performed is expressly fixed. If the order of performance is expressly fixed, that means who is first. If it is determined, then they shall be performed in that order. And where the order is not expressly fixed, if there is no decision taken regarding the performance, who will perform first, then they shall be performed in that order in which the nature of transaction requires. Then effects of preventing the performance. When a contract contains reciprocal promises and one party to the contract prevents the other from performing his promise, the contract becomes voidable at the option of the party prevented, and he is not entitled to compensation from the other party for any loss. Effects of preventing performance means if one party prevents the other from performing the contract or performing the promise, then it is voidable. It can be cancelled at the option of the party, but they can't sue for compensation. Then fourth one, effects of non-performance by the party who is to perform first. So when the performance of one party depends upon the prior performance of the other party, that means mutual and dependent, and the party who is liable to perform first fails to perform it. The party who is to perform first fails to perform, then what will happen? Then such party cannot claim the performance from the other party and must make compensation to the other party for the loss occurred. So if the party who is to perform first is not performing the contract, then they can't claim the performance of other party, and they are liable for the loss occurred. The last one, reciprocal promises, one legal and other illegal. I think it's the second last. Where persons reciprocally promise firstly to do certain things which are legal And secondly, under specified circumstances to do certain things which are illegal. Here, the first set of promise is a contract and the second set is a void agreement. Actually, this idea was already discussed. If one person, where the first contract is legal, in a reciprocal promise, the first contract is legal, then that is considered as a contract. But the second one is a void agreement. It is not a contract at all. Then alternative promises, one branch being illegal. In case of alternative promises, one branch of which is legal and the other illegal, then legal branch alone can be enforced. For example, A and B agree that A shall pay 10,000 for which B shall afterwards deliver to A either rice or smuggled things. So that's a valid contract to deliver rice and a void agreement in case of smuggled things. So these are the different rules regarding performance of reciprocal promises. Regarding simultaneous perform, both the parties have to perform it. Then regarding the order of performance, if nothing is mentioned, it depends upon the nature of transaction. Then effects of preventing the performance, if one party prevents the other, they cannot claim for the performance and they can sue for they cannot sue for compensation. And the effect of non-performance by the other party who is to perform first. Then reciprocal promises, one legal and other illegal. The legal part is called a contract and the illegal part is called a void agreement. Then alternative promises, one branch being illegal. Last topic, assignment of contract. What is assignment of contract? It means transfer of contractual rights and liabilities to a third party. If parties in the contracts are transferring their rights and liabilities to other party, to a third party, it's called assignment of contract. Parties to the contract transfer their contractual rights and liabilities to a third party. That process is called assignment of contracts, and it takes place either by act of the parties or by the operation of law. So what is assignment by act of parties? It takes place when parties to a contract themselves make the assignment. A and B enter into a contract, and if A is entrusting his rights and responsibility to a third party, C, then that's called a assignment by act of parties. Here the parties to the contract themselves make the assignment, and it is subject to the following rules. One is assignment of contractual liabilities, then assignment of contractual rights. Assignment of contractual liabilities, here under section 40, contracts involving personal skill or personal qualification, it cannot be assigned to the other party. If in a contract it requires the personal skill and personal qualification of parties, then it cannot be assigned to a third party. Then a promisor cannot assign his liabilities under a contract. He can, if the party cannot assign liability to a third party. Then regarding assignment of contractual rights, the rights and benefits under a contract cannot be assigned. An actionable claim cannot be assigned only by instrument in writing. For example, A owes rupees 10,000 to B, and B owes the same amount to C. Here B cannot ask C to recover from A unless there is another contract between A and C for the purpose. Then the last one, assignment by operation of law. Assignment by operation of law take place in following cases. One is death and the other one is insolvency. In case of death of any party, the rights and obligation can be passed to his legal representatives. And in case of insolvency, the rights and obligations of the insolvent party pass on to the official receiver or the assignee. In case of assignee is the then it is pass through assignee.